In this video I am going to explain how I use my new signal boxes, which are customizable and which I've released a first batch of Great Western Railway and Great Eastern Railway signal boxes, and here is a typical example. And you can see, looking inside there, that we've got our signalman and we've got the signal levers, we've got some single line token instruments and level crossing gates wheel for opening and closing them. And what else have we got in this signal box? Let's just go up and come down a bit. There we are. We're looking through the window. We've got a fire with Isambard the cat in front of it, and we've got some lockers, and we've got the desk for the writing up the train journal. Dearie me, it's jumping about a bit, going crazy. Okay, and we've got a nice old broken down armchair for the signalman to sit in when he hasn't got anything to do. Right, so but what you can see, of course, here are all those signal levers, which are just one forward, one back, one in the normal, one in the reverse position, that sort of thing. And I've chosen this one because it's, I think, got about 24 signal levers in it. Can't quite remember with this one. And you'll see that I've named it for its location, which is one of the fictional stations on my St Twynhell's route, which is Stackpole Elidor, which is a lovely name, I think. But then they're all lovely names on my route. There we are, Stackpole Elidor. And what I've already done is I've got the track correctly positioned. I've used my track ruler for that. But what I haven't done, of course, is I haven't textured the ground, nor have I laid out the little goods sidings there. But otherwise, it's an accurate depiction of a Great Western Railway station. I forget which one I've used for this as the model for this one, but they're all based upon actual Great Western stations. And one of the things about Stackpole Elidor is something which I haven't released yet, but I'll show it to you, is that it has a white horse. And this we're in Trainz 2019, by the way, and when it transferred into that, the colours went all wonky, so I'm going to redo that and then release it. What I'm going to do is make it as just the horse itself, and then you can sink it into the ground. I might give it depth, then you can just sink it into the ground if you fancy it. And there's a few other of those sort of chalk figures that I want to do as well. If you want to look them up online, there's one of them in particular would be the Cerne Abbas Giant, I think, which would be quite good to do. CERNEABBASS, I think. Okay, so now we need you, or I need rather, it's a bit of a kink in the track there, might have to sort out, but it doesn't make any difference to what I'm going to be talking about. Okay, so now we want to write down, make a note of the number of signals, sorry, the number of points first of all, in the up direction. This is the up direction going this way from the signal box, and then the same for the down direction. Okay, so let's see, and we've only got the one, so that's easy to remember, but write it down, one up or whatever you want to call it, and then coming down we've got one there for the down. I'm not going to worry about that one. That one there is not going to be controlled by the signal box. That will just be a lever for the shunter to throw over at any particular time. But where it's entering the running line, that's got to be controlled by the signal box. And same with this one. So that's 1, 2, and then we've got here 3, 4 for the crossover, because this is a long siding here. 3, 4, and any more? No. So that's easy. So altogether there's just 5 point levers. So I know that the point levers in the signal box, which are coloured, I can't remember what the colour is, but whichever colour is, and you've got a guide which I release with the signal boxes, you want to change 5 of those levers over to that correct colour for controlling points. So that's pretty straightforward, and for this what I would do is I'd put one of these ones up this end to control the points, and 4 was 4, wasn't it, not 5? Let's just double check. Pretty sure I'm right. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we are. Bit of a wiggle on that track. I must sort that out. But this isn't affected what I'm doing. Okay, so that's the points. We've got that. 5 levers. So the next thing that the signal box is going to control are the signals. So here we have the outer home, outer distant. Okay, and then we've got the home, so that's 2. And have we got any more down here before we get to the signal box? 2. Well, we count this one as well. That's 3. Okay. As over to one end of the signal cabin, and then we have also got some shunting dollies. So we've got 1 there, 1 there for shunting into the signal, 1 for releasing from the siding, 1 for going in. So that's 4 more. My goodness, look at that wiggle there. That really does need sorting out. And we've got 1 here. So we count up the number of signals altogether. So let's go back right the way down here. And we've got a distance signal here. Looks like we've got a landslip as well. Distance signal here. I've just chosen this station, which I've only done a minimum of work on just for illustrating, so there's nothing else really displayed on it. 1, 2, 3, and then we've got the crossovers here, dollies, 3, 4, 5. There we are for the other direction. 6. There we are. Look, for getting into that siding. 7, 8. So that gives us. Remember, we had 5 signal levers for the points altogether. So we've got 8 for the signal. So that's 13 so far. And then for the signals here, we've got 1, 2, and 3. So that's 11 plus 5, 16. So we've got a number of spares. If you like, what you can do with a couple of the spares is assume that they are for fog working, where you have the need to put a the explosive fog alert. I forget the name of it, honestly, my brain's going. Okay, so that sorts out the levers for you, because then you just use the any that you got left over spares, you put them into the normal position, which is back against the on the further side near the wall, the front wall of the signal box, and the others then are directly related to the layout. Now they're not going to move, but they're there to give verisimilitude, I think is the word, something accurate. It's a bit, makes it more accurate, which is what I like to see. So once you've done that, that's the signal box sorted out. All you need to do, because you alter those in the config, you just change the entries in the config for the signal levers that you want to include. Now, if, as will be the case on this line, which is a single line running all the way from St Twynhams to a place called Barafundle, and it's a full 12, 14 miles, something like that, so I do want to keep the single line block instruments, and I've only got one there, but you've got the option of having a double one there, and then I've not got a level crossing yet, so I'm not going to touch that. I'm going to leave the level crossing wheel in position. This great, I keep forgetting, I'm terrible remembering the names of things. Anyway, the thing that opens the gates, so I'll leave that there. just as a possibility if subsequently when I'm mucking about with the station I add in a level crossing, which I think is highly likely. So that then gives you, I mean, those single line block instruments are non-functioning. Now what you can do also, of course, is all the block instruments, which I've just piled onto the little shelf, the instrument shelf in the, let's just see if we can come down a bit and you'll see what I mean. The block instruments on the shelf, there they are, these are the backs of them anyway. What if I come around a bit? It's not the best, is it, trying to get Trainz to show you inside. There we are. Oh look, there we are, that's a good image. Well, the other things that you can change in the signal box are all these instruments. They're all on attachment points, and I've released quite a few instruments. So if you want to, you can put in the correct instruments for each direction's running. So you need to do a bit of research on that, and I mean, they're actually repeating more than not. Some of them show track clear, some of them are lamp indicators, signal indicators, so you can use all of those to populate the shelf, and you can have some gaps on the shelf if you want to. You can have some tomatoes growing in behind the levers if you like. And also here I've just used, as you can see, Upton and Blueberry signal box diagram. Now if you want to have your own there, you can just replace that TGA file, and the whole point is to be able to make the signal box your own, and you can use it once you do that and you save it under your own ID, KUID. I'm happy for you to do that. Just mention me in the description, or mention the original in the description. But this whole point about this is to be able to personalize each of the boxes. Okay, so that's the levers, that's the box. Now what else we've got here is a number of other items, not all of which I've used. I'm just trying to remember now how these are organized. I think they're just splines, aren't they? Yeah, signal wire. So the next thing to do is to look at the points themselves, and at the moment they're all running, well, that one up there over here is running as a a point that's used by the shunter, so it's got a lever, and that's adequate. I'm quite happy with that at the moment until I come up with something that I prefer myself. But these ones here, I've already placed in my own point motors, which I think we can look underneath that dreadful red disc. I am not happy with the way in which Trainz 2019 displays things. It's very intrusive. As you can see, I've already turned off the rotating circles here because they were driving me crazy. And here again you see, so any point that is controlled from the signal box, I would expect to have my own, or to have not a lever of course, but a proper point motor. And you can see here that I've also used my splines. Well, I've run a spline of my signal wire up to the base of this signal, and as it comes along, as we zoom along, let's zoom along a bit, there we are, look, all the way along. Well actually, when we reach another signal, and I would include these little shunting dollies as well, we should have a signal wire to connect it back to the signal box. So it may well be that you just got to spend the time really and move these, get these signal wires. That's a 3 up, I think that one is. Yeah, that's the most I've done, and I would tend to actually put a second parallel one to that. I've looked on photographs and I can't see great piles of signal wires going up, but rather they tend to double up. So what you need is, you need to know how many signals on this side of the signal box you're going to control. Now we did count that up, didn't we? I forgot to write it down, but there's the distant, so that's one coming back. There's a outer home 2, and there's a home 3, because remember that's a siding and that over there is the running line. 3, and actually I'm thinking about that should be a junction signal, I think, because it's actually, it would be signaling you onto the other platform. Anyway, 3, possibly 4, and then I'd leave those shunting ones as well, so 4, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, and then we've got a shunting, yeah, there it is, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So we've got to have 11 signal wires, and you've got to run them to the different signals. You can take them across the track as well. You take some, so you'll have signal wires on both sides, and then of course you need signal wires going this way. Now I would tend to just run a few sort of into the platform, the ramp. I'm not going to get all fussy about an opening or getting them in, because you can't really run them tight, and they would be tucked in under the platform, but my platform there is solid, and then you carry them on. So for this you need, let me see, 1, how many signal wires? 1, 2, and then that distant 3. So just 3 signal wires, so that's easy. And of course once you run the 3 signal wires, I mean you run 3 to here, and then there's a way of, I've got items there, and there's part of the signal wires that you can just run signal wires under the track to this signal, and so then you would carry it on with 2, okay, and then to there, and then carry it on with just 1 to the furthest one. So a bit fiddly, but you do it the once, you spend the time and do it the once, and it looks, I think, a heck of a lot better, a lot more prototypical, and just plonking a signal box down and saying, right, well, that's it, let's assume it's got Wi-Fi to the to the others, to all the signals or whatever. These are the days of mechanical signaling, so you know, embrace it. Okay, what about the other things? Well, apart from signal wires, of course, you need point rodding. So the same is true there. You need to take, and I've got, where am I? Here we are, point rodding. So I don't know, maybe 5. Just have a guess. Oh, that seems to have attached itself to the signal wire. That's no good, is it? Good old Trainz. So we'll hold the shift key down. And for the point rodding, there we go. I'll try and keep it away a bit from the signal wire. Anyway, I'll just take it along. And it's when you start doing this that you realise probably it's better on the other side of the track, in which case just move it over. No, not like that. Like this. And we'll grab that one, pull it over, and then there's rodding to cross the track is in my the range of stuff that I've got released. And so here we go. So if we extend this to here, this is the first point controlled by the signal box. So again, we want a single crank going across to connect in with the point motor, or a point, and then we go with a 4 rodding, so we're losing one because one of them's gone over there. So I think we can probably click that onto there, yeah, straighten that up, and then we take the 4th one along to the next point, which is going to be controlled by the next turnout, controlled by the signal box. And again, we use the I think it's SF point police box. I can't remember the name, isn't that awful? Cranky. Oh well. Well, I can't bring it to mind offhand. I know what it is. It's in here, isn't it? Let's go here. Point. Whoops. Try and type point. There we are. Point crank, double, quadruple. Well, we only want single. Triple. Point rod extension. Point rod crank double. Is that double track? I think it is. Let's try that. Yeah, so what we've got here, this has moved along a bit so I can show it to you. There we are. So that's what you would use to, it's actually facing the wrong direction, so we want, where is it? Is it right to left? Or no, just double track. Let's have a look at that. Yep, and we'll spin it round and we'll move it over to that one. There we are. And we can delete that one. And so what this does is you move it into position, not without jumping over to the other track. Thank you very much. It's a track object, so it's aligned on the track. Here we go. So come on, sweetie, let's move along. There we are, and you move it till it's, of course the big red circle doesn't really help, does it? But you move it along until it connects in there, and then you just adjust. You adjust this one so it connects like that. I know it seems fiddly, and it is fiddly, but once you do start it, it does work out. That crank is actually lowered, so it does run underneath the point cranks. So that was 4, so now we can go to 3, and we connect that in. Oops, where are we? It's that one. There we are. We want to make sure that keeps straight. Come on, stop messing about. And then we can take this and run down to our next point. I think here what we can do is we can just bring it, because it's on the right side, just bring it over to the point motor. Except it's not a motor, is it? It's a crank. And then we want 2 to continue, because we're dropping off one of the rods there, and keep it straight. And we'll bring that along right the way along to the next one. And you'll have guessed it, we want one of these, don't we? Double track. Where are we? Click it on there. It always goes on the wrong way round. There we are, connect that into there. And then we move the spline back to that position. Okay, and then we're ready for a single point rodding crank. And straighten up that one, because good old Trainz twist the splines like they're pythons. And wouldn't mind if it was Monty Python. Well, you can see I've gone all over the place with this signal wire. But let's get it into position up near the, I thought there was another point along here. No? Oh well, I was wrong. So I brought the wrong number of point rods, so I've got to go back and change that, so I'll just delete that. And you can see I've got the signal wire all over the place there. It should be close in with the track. But you get the idea. You start off with the furthest, for putting in the point rodding, you start off with the furthest point, which will be this one. Then you take single point rodding to that one, then you 2 to the next one, and then 3, whatever it is, 4. right the way back to the signal box, and then somewhere I think I've got something for crossing over quad track. I think it's that one. Let's have a look. No, that's for the width of the track. Point rod compensation, point rod trailer. Oh, I know what I was going to do. Yeah, what you do is you put the some signal wire. I thought I had signal. Is it walkway? There we are. Walkway signal box. Walkway quad track. Walkway double track. Yep. Here we go. Swing it around, and then just bring the spline. What I tend to do is just bury this, bring it right over and just bury it into the end, on the assumption that it's on the walkway. And if you want to do a little length of I mean, I'm trying to spoof all the complexity of the rodding, which is just in front of the signal box. And that looks like it could do with coming in closer anyway. Yeah, I like it really close, because if you look at any photographs, you'll find the point rodding's fairly close in on the ballast. If that's too close, then what you can do, double track. Ooh, naughty. Covering it over. So there we are. And then move the spline. You can take it out to the edge of the ballast a bit. And that looks like a proper walkway. And okay. So there we are. That's just to show you what I have in mind for the personalising the signal box. And of course, as I said, you've got my complete permission to adjust it any way you like. Just please do mention my original signal box in the config description. Yeah, that's the way I'm going to get away with it. And then what I'll do, you see, is I bring the signal wire up to here as well. I think there's some bits in the to join take the signal wire down. So in other words, the access into the lever frame, the lower part of the signal box, is just hidden by this walkway, and that's a little barrier there to stop the signalman falling in the front of a train. I think that's everything then. I think what you should do is take a simple station and experiment with it, and I think I've included all the bits and pieces that you need. I really did try and plan ahead as comprehensively as possible, but then that gives you an idea how to use my signal boxes, my point rodding, my new point cranks, and the signal wire. The signal wire is just there for effect, as of course is the point rodding. Point cranks actually work, they replace the levers, and there's some other bits and pieces in the just in the scenery items, which or in the track objects which click into place, which if we didn't have those red circles you would see actually lined up very, very well indeed, because I spent a lot of time trying to get the correct positioning for those, and they are taken, I've simplified them a little bit, the point cranks, but they are taken from the standard 1920 odd 20ish 1920 21 or even pre that, before the First World War, description of how this point rodding works. Okay, so in Trainz I could just click on that and you'd see the point cranks change, and of course the the point blades change, but having migrated these now to Trainz 2019, you can only really see that. Well, you can see it there. You can see it in the point blades only appear to change it in driver, but you can see my little animation there for those. Okay, so I hope that answers all the questions. If not, put it in the comments. If you come across a situation that I haven't covered with my the bits and pieces that I've made, and you can't spoof it up by doing that sort of thing, then let me know and I'll see what I can do. I think actually what I would do with that is, because that's a track object there, I would move that. See, you can move this along a bit, so you can see it's in two parts, and then I would move the signal box just along. There we are. So that all spoofs, that hides, those walkways hide all the rodding that you would normally see, or the little gap at the bottom of the wall there. And well, I hope you enjoy that. It certainly looks like the cat is enjoying its position in front of the fire in the signal box. As I've said in my little bit of blurb, his name is Isambard. You can call him what you like, but he'll probably only answer to Isambard because he's a great western cat. So there we are. And of course you can alter the contents of that signal box as much as you like. There's plenty of attachment points there, and they're all listed in the config. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's in response from a nudge on the forum to actually do the video which I said I would do, so here it is. And as I say, I'll aim to try and answer your comments with something sensible, but if I can't come up with a sensible answer, then please bear with me and try and sort something out. I do intend to make more signal boxes in other companies. Part of the problem, I do have some plans, part of the problem is getting photographs of those boxes to show me the type of either brickwork or render or boarding that they used. But I've got a number of I do have a number of plans which include I think they're Midland, Northeast, and certainly a couple of Scottish signal boxes as well. Okay, that's the end of the video. Please give me a thumbs up at the end, please subscribe, and as I say, don't hesitate to post your comment.